So what are some of the challenges that your clients and consultants face when doing business development?
You see, that's quite an interesting question because a lot of the decision makers I work with, they will say that, yeah, can you come and give my guys some training on BD? And when I ask them why, they say, well, they're just not picking up the phone.
Ah, right. So that's not necessarily a skills issue. That's more of a motivational issue.
Yeah, it is. And I guarantee you this, that whatever they're thinking, they're probably overthinking the outcome of the call. There's going to be some sort of negative mindset, they've role played it in their head, and there's going to be a negative outcome. And the thing is, if you start off a call with a negative frame of reference, it's probably not going to be a very good call.
Yeah, that's true. So for me, planning is always key with any business development, and certainly an actual phone call. So planning 3 objectives. So you know what you're going to get out of the call, making sure that you've planned your introduction, what you're going to say, that opening statement, to make an impact as much as possible, but also think about the questions you want to ask, what information do you need, and especially the objection you're likely to get. If you're calling because you know one of your competitors is in there, they're going to say that they're using a competitor. So prepare for that, think about what you're going to say first off, and actually that then really has an impact. We have our fight or flight impulse when we feel like we're being attacked in some way, shape or form, and an objection can feel like that. So your body takes over. If you can actually prepare for it and you've run through it a couple of times, when they say it, you think, yeah, I'm ready for that, that's fine, I know what I'm going to say. Much, much easier to deal with that. So a good call is going to start off with a positive mindset.
Good. And even with a positive mindset, you still might get a negative response. You still might get a no. But the thing is, you didn't know you were going to get a no before you made the call. But now you've got a no, you know. And now you know you've got a no, you can deal with the no. And I think that's why it's important for people to pick up the phone and speak to people.
Okay, so should we get rid of some of those no's?
Well, we can do, but you need to be on the phone to do that.
So, why is it most recruiters actually prefer to send an email first, maybe, rather than picking up the phone?
Sometimes it's their comfort blanket, they feel comfortable in some ways hiding behind an email. They don't have to sort of face that response or face that no. It might even be a preference of the market that they're working in. Their decision makers might prefer to actually communicate via email. But I still think that, particularly if you're doing business development, pick up the phone and speak to people. Make that your initial approach. That way you can start to build more of a personal rapport and a personal relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And even if you don't get through, then you've got an opportunity now to follow up with the other things, saying that you've tried to speak to them and make that personal approach and make a connection. So it's positive one way or the other. Whether you get through or you don't, you get the no or you get the yes, which will be even better. So it's so important to get it right, obviously, because you can make a right mess up of it. There is no one definite right answer here.
Okay.
I think we need to put that out there, that what works for some people won't work for others, and vice versa. There isn't a holy grail, and therefore we need to actually look at different options here.
Okay.
So dependent on the person that you're speaking to, as you said, it might be that you're working with someone and that culturally it could be, the country that you're in can make a big difference as to whether the call is the right thing to do, first of all. So you do have to take all of that into account. We've worked internationally, both of us, and some of those cultural differences do make an impact on the way that you approach candidates and clients.
Yeah, and I've got it with a few of my clients that work in the German market. The preference is to actually communicate with somebody via an email first of all, or an email to say that, no, I am going to be calling you, what would be a good number to call you on, that sort of thing. And I know that your experience is in the Far East as well. There's some similar nuances there.
Yeah. Okay, so not picking up the phone and sending emails are two of the challenges that we're facing when doing BD. What else have you got?
Well, obviously there's the gatekeeper challenge, but we've already covered that on another video. But I also think it's the opening statements that people use that can actually determine whether or not this call is going to go well or not well.
Okay, so should we do a few?
Yeah, okay.
Let me grab my phone.
Got my phone. I'll start.
Go for it.
Yeah, hi, good morning. It's Alan Clark, and I'm calling from a company called Recruitivit. And I've, in fact, I was just wondering if you had any vacancies.
Oh,
there you go, smashed it. How was that?
Terrible.
Was it?
Terrible.
Oh,
right. Too many ums and ahs to start with. I can hear your hesitancy and your nervousness, and now I feel nervous, and I really don't want to feel nervous in my job. So yeah, not great from there. You even sounded like that you didn't know what you were talking about either, which doesn't give me any confidence. You put too many words in there as well. So rather than all the extra bits, why not just say, good morning, it's Alan Clark from Recruiter Fit, rather than the extra bits, it's my name and the company is called. You don't need all those extra bits. Try and keep it as simple as possible. Also,
I didn't like it,
I didn't like it, and you added in a couple of my things that I really hate as well. I'm just wondering, really? Well, then just carry on wondering, because that's not a question, that's not a statement. You can just carry on.
Agreed.
And the word just, straight away, you're demeaning what you're saying. It's just a quick call, just to catch up. No, it's not. Let's start this conversation correctly, and ask them if they've got any vacancies straight away. You're already on your map of the world. You're not thinking about them, and it's not what's necessarily important to them at this point. So, should we try again?
I said, don't hold back then, Angela. You really didn't like it. But anyway, look, it's good to get some constructive feedback, which is why, obviously, role plays are important to do this. Okay, let's give it another bash, and I'll take on board all of your feedback. Thank you very much. Take two. Oh, good morning. It's Alan Clark from Recruiter Fit. I'm a consultant specialising in training and development, and I've read recently that you're looking to invest quite heavily into your L&D programme for 2020. What plans have you got in place to develop the skills of your salespeople?
Okay, much better, much more confident. It's much more like a business conversation. Okay, don't go too over the top. But certainly, it's showing how we can actually make it a lot clearer introduction, so that you've demonstrated that you've done some research, you've had a look before the call to look at my business and what's important to me, and now I'm interested in talking about my plans and things that I am involved in. And it's also important to ask a question that they know the answer to. Don't make it a difficult question to start with, make it that it is something they can answer.
So, talking of difficult questions then, let me get your thoughts on this one. It's when recruiters, let's say for example I'm talking to somebody I've never spoken to before, so it's my first time, and I say, oh, good morning, it's Alan Clark from Recruiter Fit. I'm a consultant specialising in L&D.
I'm not listening.
How are you?
Okay. Yeah, I've got a bit of an issue with the how are you. If it's someone that you've never spoken to before, I think it probably could be a bit inappropriate.
Okay, but I get consultants that say that they use it all the time and it works for them.
Again, another point, if it's working for you, that's fine. Don't change it just because we're saying there's another way of doing things. There's loads of ways to do things, and if you've got something that works, stick with it.
Yeah.
But actually, when someone calls me and says, how are you? I tell them exactly how I am. Whatever's happened that day, they get a strong answer, and it's about how they react to that and how they then answer as to whether I think that I'm going to carry this conversation on or not. Okay.
But can you imagine if you asked that question, how are you? And they said, how am I? This is about the 20th recruiter call I've had today. And I think, okay, just add another one to the list then, because I am a recruiter. Or worse than that, you ask them and you say, how are you? And they go, yeah, really good. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, what I was calling about today, again, it sort of adds extra bits in that really don't need to be there. And if you don't know how they're going to react, then don't add it in, because you're just giving yourself an opportunity, or an opportunity for them to throw in another objection and to make you feel uncomfortable. There's no point.
Okay. Do you know this one is always going to split opinion? I think the best thing to do is to really get to know your marketplace. Find out what works in your marketplace. And the only way you're going to do that is by picking up the phone, trial and error, speaking to as many people as you can, and see what works for them. There isn't, I think you've already mentioned, there's no silver bullet. You have to adapt your approach to everyone that you're speaking with. But I'm just not convinced that that statement adds any real value.
Right, so what we've just done there is what I call the bridge. So yes, your introduction, and then the bridge is the bit to get you into the conversation as quickly as possible. 20-30 seconds is maximum to get that person involved in the conversation. So any other openers?
Well, other than the bridges, which obviously can be used at the start of the call or even during the call, we've got elevator pitches, which we can do at the start of the call, during the call. We can do personal elevator pitches, company elevator pitches, team elevator pitches. We can market in a candidate or spec in a candidate. We can turn candidate calls into BD opportunities, reference calls into BD opportunities. Basically, too many to mention on this video.
Exactly. So in summary then, you've got 30 seconds at the maximum to make an impact at the start of the call, to show that you're credible in what you do, that you're confident in your approach, that you have the competence to actually have a really good business conversation.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really important here.
Good. Has it got to be credible as well?
Yeah.
Credibility is good. Yeah, credibility. Cripps and Clark. See you on the next one.
Bye.